David.
Good one, David. You're back in it, man. There's like 2 solid claps in a row for you.
I just need to. Sometimes it's about confidence, but once you get your shoulders over the ball and you strike one clean, then it's like, this is who I am. And then it just starts rolling. Henri gets in my ear. He's like, you're the best striker in the world. And all of a sudden it's like 3 months later and I'm Wando,
Oh, from New York, you are listening to Extra Time, driven by Continental from my apartment in Bed-Stuy. I'm Andrew Wiebe with my partners in soccer, Caitlin Carr, David Goss, Matt Doyle. What's up, guys? How you doing? Thanks for covering me on Monday. I appreciate that. How do you like this? A little Continental branding in the background, huh?
It's looking a bit sparse, to be honest. What's going on? You couldn't add a little more swag to that? That looks
well. The problem is Wiebe couldn't get any other sponsors.
There you go.
So unless you sponsor him, he doesn't put things in his apartment.
I don't want any other sponsors. All right, Continental is my lifeblood, baby.
Yeah.
You're one and only.
Do you eat meals on top of a Continental tire? Like, is that it? Do you use it as a converted table? Be honest.
I have not yet done that. That's fair. That's a fair point. But I do have Continental cups that I've been given, and this is a Continental mug that is a collector's item that I will forever cherish.
When Mindy is ready to give birth and you guys are on the way to the hospital, will you like Instagram live it and be like, we are being driven by Continental?
No, if the car that takes you there doesn't use those tires, will you just say, listen, we're going to have to do this here?
That's a home birth scenario. You've nailed it. That's we're busting out like the kiddie pool. We're filling it with water, and we're doing this the old-fashioned way, all right? We're going to make this thing happen with or without, with Continental ideally, but without, we'll still get it done, all right? Look,
do you get all your medical updates in Audi Player Index rating styles? Is that how all of this is done?
It's kind of like
that,
actually.
Reports in?
It's pregnancy is kind of like that. You don't know what it really means. It's all sort of a mystery. It's like, I don't even know. This could be good.
Bradley got a 67 today.
Yeah, this could be bad. You're like, this is a negative 60 at halftime. But you know what? Second half, third trimester, we can make it all up, all right? We can figure this out. Anyway, let's get into the show. We're still running along our Extra Time greatest team of all time bracket. So we have one side of the Sweet 16, which you guys handled on Monday. We'll hit the other side today. We've got some big matchups set going forward, one of which is from the past, 2014 Seattle, 2014 LA. That's a real playoff matchup. That's on the other side. But today we have the other two sides of the bracket, the Discovery Rights region and the CCL region. So we'll dive into that one. Got a little fan mail, going to do some best 11s. But we have news. We have real news, actual news. We have a new head coach in Major League Soccer, FC Cincinnati. Here you go, full-time job. Jaap Stam, another Dutchman, bring him on in. It was, out in the news. It was kind of predictable. It seemed like this is the way that they wanted to go, and now they've gone that way. Of course, they're trying to build on their expansion season, which we all know didn't go that well. Jaap Stam, we know him as a player. He was the most expensive Dutch player of all time when he moved to Manchester United. He's got 3 different stints as a manager, Reading in the championship. That lasted a little less than 2 years. 40 wins in 98 games. Not bad. He had a winning record there. Pax Wool was there for, 6 months. Had a winning record there, or I guess he was 500, it looks like. And then Feyenoord was very, very brief. Any feelings on this? Does this feel like the right kind of hire? I mean, from a logical standpoint and just from hey, we know who runs the club right now. It feels like a logical hire to me. Is it a good hire? Can we even tell that right now? Does anybody have a strong opinion on Jaap Stam?
I think that if you look at his tenure at his last 2 stops, he didn't last long. It was 17 games with Paxvol, and then it was 18 games with Feyenoord. And Feyenoord this year, they were pretty tough to watch. And at a club like Feyenoord, you don't get a lot of time. You just do not get time to choose your players and institute your system, whatever that happens to be. And clearly he was not the right fit. He was pushed out. The difference between MLS, one of the differences between MLS and, great top tier European clubs is here you do get a lot of time. Even with a club as ambitious as Atlanta United, we saw Frank de Boer come in and struggle at the start. And if this was, we saw it. If it was Inter Milan or if it was the Premier League, you're out. You get 3 months. So with MLS, with FC Cincinnati, they are going to give Jaap Stam at least 3 years, my guess. And we will have an idea at the end of those 3 years if Jaap Stam can really do the job at this level. It's the same thing as with Thierry Henry. Like Thierry Henry got 20 games with Monaco, maybe, when they were rebuilding after they had already sold like a $250 million worth of players. You don't know whether or not Thierry Henry is a good manager at that point. You know he wasn't the right fit for Monaco. But with both these guys, and I think it's a very interesting time in MLS history because it's becoming I don't want to say a rehabilitation facility, but like managers like Henry, like De Boer to an extent, like Jaap Stam, like even Tata Martino at that time, are guys who did not achieve in their bigger European stops what had been expected of them. And now they're coming to MLS where you get more stability and more time. And in that regard, I like, just on the face of it, I like the idea behind this hire for FC Cincinnati for sure.
I think you can include a guy like Patrick Vieira in that, right? Like it was his first pro job, but this is an opportunity for managers not to be, not to say that there isn't pressure, because there definitely is pressure, but an opportunity to have time and to feel a little bit secure to build what they're trying to build, to either succeed in this stop and win in this stop, or show the next suitor what it is they're capable of doing given time and resources and a little bit of trust. It's like, hey, trust me, because look what I did there. I had time to do it. I had the trust to do it, and I did it. So
yeah, I would argue, I fully understand what you're saying. I think Henry is a bad situation. He had one job once. That was an insane situation where Jaap Stam and De Boer have had opportunities. De Boer, like if you judge De Boer just based off Crystal Palace, then him and Henry are the same, but they've had more opportunities than a guy like Henry. But in general, I get what you're saying. For FC Cincinnati in this piece, this is the part where Bobby Warshaw comes in and takes over my body. I think it's been proven, and I think I agree that having the wrong idea and going 100% in Major League Soccer is more successful than having a mixed identity. And if you've got a GM and a technical director from Pexwold who have a belief of the way the game should be played and are going to buy players to play that way and are going to build an academy and a team that plays that way, then you should have a coach who understands that as well. So Jaap Stam steps in, having already worked with these guys, coming from the same country, coming from the same background. And whether he's the best man manager in the world and the best tactician, I'm not saying that, but I think to have a cohesive vision of who you are going forward, especially for a club that, let's be real, is basically restarting right now as an expansion team once again, that's all right. So I don't know that he's the best manager in the world. I don't know that he has the best track record, but I like the idea that FC Cincinnati is going in 100% on a certain style and identity and club vision. And especially if Doyle, and I think Doyle is right, unless he chooses to leave, you're talking about a timeline to build something up. And Dallas has proven, and the Red Bulls have proven, and I think we're going to see Colorado prove this over the next few years, that if you run yourself the correct way, no matter what that high-level spending is, the way Major League Soccer is set up, you can compete day in and day out with those teams. And I think this is the way Cincinnati does that.
And you raise the floor. You raise the floor by doing that. You make sure that you're not going to have a catastrophic season like last year.
And to Doyle's point... Oh, sorry, Galen.
No, go ahead.
So I would say the last piece of Doyle's point of time is making the playoffs is different than having to win a title at Feyenoord, right? Where you can't slip up because you can't fall behind. You have a chance in MLS as a coach of, let's say, Cincinnati, to have a bad few weeks. But as Doyle said, you're raising the floor where you're probably going to get more consistent performances, where you're at least in a playoff run at the worst year 1, year 2.
3 years to me sounds like an eternity. I don't know any manager, and it is if you look at the history of FC Cincinnati managers, right? So
yeah,
there really is. I find I don't know any job in MLS right now as a manager. I agree, maybe the leash might be a little bit longer, but I see the year over year the leash of managers getting much shorter. The pressure rising every year.
If Anthony Hudson hadn't thrown his players under the bus, he would have gotten 2 years, right?
But my point is that there's more media pressure where before they didn't even publish post-game interviews. Now you'd have to dig through 8 boxes of things to figure out what the manager of the Colorado Rapids said after a match. So that's where the pressure starts to mount, where you can't say the wrong thing out of frustration or for whatever reason, because, you know, you throw the players on the bus, they hear it, they lose the locker room, whatever happens. So I think the measure, I think they're going to want to keep him for some time. And especially when you've gone through a bunch of different managers, there's always added pressure to try and hold on to the right one. I give Cincinnati credit because I think what they've done is they have confirmed or maybe reconfirmed their belief that they were on the right path, and that they have an identity and a belief in a system and a style and a profile of a coach. And I think an admission that they just had the wrong man. So if they completely tore it up and were like, oh, we no longer want to go into this Dutch style of play or whatever it might be, and we want to go to South America for a coach, or we want to follow some other fad that maybe another club is trying, then it's like, I'd almost have more questions at that point. I think the fact that they've gone and found a similar profile of a type of a manager, isn't it? Yeah, I think it goes back to saying, hey, we do have a plan of what we want to do. We just maybe had the wrong guy.
And we've said this before, real quick, just you need more. Sometimes you need a heavyweight to walk into a room to sign a player to Major League Soccer who hasn't considered coming here before. Obviously, they already got Locadia over the line to some extent, which was a big move for them. But Tata's ability to walk into a room with Almiron and Joseph was huge. Jaap Stam is one of those names. Jaap Stam is associated to the great Manchester United teams, to Milan. Jaap Stam is up there. And I don't know that every person in Central South America and Europe has ever said, I want to go live in Cincinnati and play soccer there. But you get them in a room, you show them an idea, you have a training center, a stadium, the fan support, you have all of that. But this is a nice joker wild card to have, to be able to have him come in the room, similar to Henry in Montreal, and say, come play for me. I've played at the highest level. I've played for Sir Alex Ferguson. Come be a part of this.
And ultimately, they are building this club. I mean, it's a young club, and they're coming up, and they're trying to figure out what the standard is that they want to set. And the standard last year they'll tell you, we all saw it. Anybody with eyes can tell you it wasn't good enough. So now it's Jaap Stam's job to set a standard. And I think one of the things, if I was FC Cincinnati, I'm sure they had these conversations, like, you want an ambitious coach, and Jaap Stam is coming to sort of rehabilitate himself and give this opportunity to show what he can do long term. But you also have to have, in this club, some stability.
Yeah.
Any stability. They have had almost no stability. So if I'm talking to Jaap Stam and I'm FC Cincinnati, I'm saying, look, man, you might see this as, a jumping board. You might see this as a long-term place. Whatever it is, we need 2 years from you, at least. Have to have it, because we need to have some sort of cohesion as we open our stadium, as we get into this training facility, as we try to find a way to build a culture here that kind of just like got crumpled up in year one in MLS through no fault of some people and fault of some people, you know who they are, to get moved out. I mean, they have to have some sort of stability. So I think it's a good hire, even in that sense. I think it's a good hire, as you said, Dave, in the sense that it gives them sort of a weight that they maybe didn't have before as a quote-unquote new club in this league. And I hope it gives them some stability, because the project has potential. Last year, they just got derailed, and it did not turn out pretty. So,
yeah.
And
I do need to say this, though. That Feyenoord team was brutal. They were brutal. So it looks good, but like there are some red flags. So,
and not just red flags. I mean, look, he's not coming into an easy situation.
Yeah,
he's not walking into a preseason. He's not
even walking in.
Yeah, no,
he's not even in the country.
Right. Like, so this is a challenge, and it's a challenge for everybody worldwide. But this is a challenge for FC Cincinnati and Jaap Stam to figure out how to make this transition in the right way, while being in sort of a limbo situation where he can't even be with the team. Nobody's training fully as a team yet, obviously, as we know from all the different limitations that are in place right now. There's a lot of TBDs here, but at least on paper, which is all you can ask for right now, looks pretty good. How about Gonzalo Higuain on paper for DC United? Stephen Goff out here reporting that's some preliminary conversations. If Stephen's reporting it, then there's some truth to it. Pipo Higuain heads into that locker room, becomes an assistant coach, and boom, all of a sudden, Gonzalo's trying to make his way. And if I'm Ola Kamara, I'm like, man, what the heck?
I literally was about to say, I'm starting a GoFundMe for Ola Kamara if this goes down, because this would be the second time he got screwed in Major League Soccer.
He's like, what is this? Like, I'm a double-digit goal scorer. I'm every single year, guarantee it. Just put me up top. Let me be the guy in the box. And now all of a sudden, the Higuain rumors come in.
Yeah, he's playing for big clubs. He's playing for big clubs, though. I mean, you play for LA Galaxy, they're going to sign Zlatan Ibrahimovic. And it seems like DC United sees themselves as a club like that as well too, where they might sign a Wayne Rooney or they might sign an Higuain, and they're looking for big names like that. So I know I can relate to that as a striker, where you're like, oh, I might be able to break through here, and then it's like, we actually just bought Cuauhtemoc Blanco and Brian McBride, and you're like, I'm sitting there with Pat Nyarko being like, all right, we're wingers. Let's go wide. And that's exactly. I mean, yeah. So Ola Kamara's had to do the same thing, where he's like, I'm a winger, and I didn't have 15 goals to back up my name.
Yeah,
he's still going out wide. So I don't know. I understand why they would be interested. And Higuain's only 32 years old. It seems like he's been around forever because we've seen him on so many big clubs across the planet. But yeah, I don't know. It just seems a little bit surprising. He's not gonna be a big draw. I don't think. It's not like the name of a Wayne Rooney.
It's a big name.
It's
Big
a big
name.
You're talking about a guy who scored a lot of goals at who scored at Real Madrid, who set the goal record in Italy, and now plays at Juve. Is the guy who screwed Messi over, but everyone knows his name because of that, right? Starting the World Cup final. I think he's a big name, and I think when you look at DC, I like what they've done. I love Flores, but they don't have someone who can create out of nothing consistently. And Higuain's ability to finish and in MLS, I think, create a little bit, brings them up another notch just as a team in general. You know, Ola's not going to really give you much in buildup. If you get it to him in the right spot, he's going to finish. Higuain will fall off and create a little bit more. And I think coming from Rooney, I don't know that they're going to replace that in terms of name quality, but I think he's in that conversation.
In the Wayne Rooney conversation, as far as global soccer stars, I think if you look at MLS big names that have come through, Higuain would for sure be in the second category. It's kind of a silly argument to be honest. It's really about, like, also some of it will come down to what price and is how much you have to pay to get a guy like that, and is that where you want to spend on the roster?
So he's in the last year of his contract at this point. He's no longer a starter. There are a lot of European clubs who are just looking to get rid of players, shed them with no fee. There are probably going to be a lot of options here for DC United to play this. I also think that, frankly, you can play Ola and Gonzalo Higuain up top together in a 2-forward front. Ben Olsen, has preferred a 4-2-3-1 in his years, but he played in the Diamond 22 years ago for a team that we're about to talk about in a couple of minutes. So he knows that well. He's also played in a 3-5-2 successfully. I like Paul. I think Paul Arriola's best position is as a wing back in a 3-5-2. You could play Flores underneath as a true 10, still have those two center backs, and then you play. The upshot is you end up playing Yamil Assad as a left wing back, and we're about to have our second Bobby Warsaw reference of the day, Yamil Assad left back. We're almost there. So it works on so many levels.
I will say, and this one's always tough to tell, but I think when Zlatan came in, maybe this is unfair to say, there are guys where you look at them and it seems like their game will age well because it's not based off pure athleticism or these specific moments. I think Higuain's one of those guys coming here where he's intelligent. He's a quality finisher in a lot of different ways. And I don't think you look at him and say his ability to stretch the back line is his number one trait. So if he comes to Major League Soccer as he ages, I think he'll continue to be a useful player for DC United.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw a name out there just to see what it triggers in you guys in that sense. Because when you say that and you start, the first name I think of is Robbie Keane. Like a guy who's willing to drop off, who can create for others, but ultimately is just inside the box is unstoppable. Yeah. And has a certain level of demands, let's call them, on his teammates and on the environment around him that can raise the tide and has the reputation to back that up. Absolutely.
And Higuain is a better player than Robbie Keane ever was. And nobody for a second thinks that Robbie Keane was not a great signing. It makes a lot of sense. I will say Higuain's been much more of a true number 9 than Robbie Keane was. Robbie Keane was kind of a classic British second forward, but I think that Higuain could sort of play that forward/playmaker role with Ola Kamara as the center forward. And if you do that, and you have Flores underneath, you could attack with 3. You could just go out and attack with 3, which is what I think Ben Olsen always wants to do anyway. He's happier when he has 7 guys defending, deep in their own half. So it makes a lot of sense when you look at it, especially because DC haven't won a lot in the last 15 years, and it feels like their window, their time frame is a lot quicker than some of the other teams, which is why they're probably more willing to look at a 31, 32-year-old BP as opposed to going in the other direction for some of the super young guys that we're seeing come into the league.
Do we think Columbus is going to be pissed? You had people on your team for 10 years, little rumblings every once in a while of Gonzalo. He leaves one time for 6 months, and now Gonzalo Higuain.
Why do you need Gonzalo when you got Jassy?
Yeah, fair. You're right. The American Gonzalo Higuain. You are correct.
My favorite part about this is our first instinct when we see these rumors, at least mine was like, no, Ola Kamara. That's the most MLS reaction that you could possibly have to seeing like a World Cup finalist / Golden Boot winner in multiple countries, Real Madrid striker coming to the league. Like, not Ola. He deserves better. We'll see what happens. According to Stephen Goff, there have been no quote unquote formal approaches on this one, so it's still very early, but when it gets in the Washington Post, there's got to be a little bit of believability to it, and I certainly would like to see it happen. You guys want to get into the greatest team of all time?
Yeah, sure.
Why not? What were the biggest
Let's just keep talking about DC.
I missed on Monday. What were the biggest arguments on the other side of the bracket as you advance 27 Toronto, 2010 RSL, 2014 LA, and 2014 Seattle? Like that 2018 Red Bulls, 2014 Seattle, that one seems to me like it would have really torn the group apart. The rest of them, I understand, but that one in particular, that one had to be tough.
Weeby, let me just cut you off there. It didn't tear the group apart because Doyle was pissed about the seeding 17 years ago. But I think in the moment, there was a decent amount of agreement of who would go through, right, Doyle, from the matchup?
No, I disagree. I think the better defensive team goes through, especially because we're talking about an elimination game, and Obafemi Martins was terrible in the playoffs in MLS. He no goals, no assists, and I think it was 700 or 800 minutes. I think that, look, it's not a travesty that you guys picked the Sounders. That Sounders team was really, really good. The bigger travesty is that you misseeded the Red Bulls. Because if it was the 2018 Red Bulls versus 2010 RSL, no disrespect to that great RSL team, 2018 Red Bulls go through. And then you have the 2015 Red Bulls versus 2014 Sounders. And that clearer path for Seattle. But like either way, it's not like the 2010 RSL and 2014 Sounders like bad teams. Those are two awesome teams. There's a great argument for both of them. I just think the bigger mistake is you guys incredibly to me still getting like picking the team with 60 points over the team with 71 points, the team that made the CONCACAF Champions League semifinals and set a new points record. It makes zero sense. It makes zero sense.
Yeah, I'm glad Weeby's back because it was his fault. So I'm glad we could have him back on to blame him for that. I will also say I voted for 2007 Houston over 2014 Galaxy, and no one would hear any.
Yeah, you did that to be a contrarian.
No, that's how I feel, and no one would hear me, so I feel unheard.
I'm here to validate all of your feelings, all right? That's my only job on this show, to make you all feel heard. Let's go over to Discovery Rights region. I still think 2017 Toronto FC is the favorite over in the TAM and Continental Tire regions. 2019 LAFC has to be the favorite here, but they only won the fan vote by 4% over 2005 New England. Neither of these teams won MLS Cup, obviously.
Wait a minute, Weeby. Did you agree with me on the 2018 Red Bulls versus 2014 Sounders?
Yeah, I think I do. I do. But I don't think either of those teams were going to win the region that 2017 Toronto FC is in. So I don't find it a travesty. I'm not like I'm not upset.
What you're saying is you're a narrative guy, and you like that this 2014 Seattle team is maybe going to meet an old friend in the quarterfinals here.
You know me too well.
I do.
My middle name is Narrative. I'm down for that. I was loving it the moment it happened.
I'm looking forward to your best 11 continental tire greatest team of all time column.
Sam Stachel has dared me to never write a column again that isn't best 11. So after I've trolled Bobby for a month and a half by doing nothing but best 11s, that's your third Bobby reference here. I'm now going to do Sam Stachel's bidding. So that's the way it works. Anybody going to go for 2005 New England? Or is this just 2019 LAFC through easy, no question about it?
2019 LAFC through easy, no question about it. Like no disrespect to that great Revs team. They were, they were a fantastic team, but like what we saw last year from LAFC, only one winner here.
And I think we're at the point. Sorry, Kalen.
Yeah, I was wondering, Kalen, when you walked into the league in 2006, and we did extra time trivia last night, and I based a lot of the questions around your rookie year. What was sort of the Revs' place in that Chicago locker room? When you looked to New England, what did you think? How did you game plan for them? What did they represent to you?
2006 game plans. Let me think.
Just your gut reaction when you guys,
we assume, Kalen, you brought the folder with that down to Atlanta with you when you left New York in an emergency.
The Manila folder, yeah.
Yeah.
That era, I would say, them and Houston were like the two teams I would say that stood out amongst the league. And I think DC was right up there, and I think we had some good Chicago teams. I'm trying to think, but yeah, and the New England team was stacked, and every time you played against them, they just had so many different weapons with Ralston and Noonan and Taylor, of course, up front, and Shawry, and then the young guys like Parkey and Jeff Lorenowitz coming in. These were like kind of then Clint. I mean, he was always just this, he was this whole force of nature that you knew was probably, you could see how special he was right away. So that those teams were just stacked. Even the guys on the bench were like James Riley and young guys that were coming into league that were going to go on and have really successful careers. Matt Reese, of course, in the back. So those teams were really tough to play against all the time. So I think, look, it would almost be, if they played against this LAFC team, it would be kind of the way the Sounders played against LAFC in the playoffs last year. That New England team would play a similar style, and that they were fantastic at that. And if you gave them one chance where the ball gets wide and then Taylor gets moving in the box, or Clint comes up with a moment of magic, like that's why this whole idea is really hard. And LAFC, for how great they've been, have struggled in the one-offs in the tournament situations where, if you're asking me who's the better team, who played better style soccer, who had the highest end talent at that time, I mean, Carlos Vela, what we've seen from him has been pretty much unstoppable and nothing like I've ever seen in MLS. But I don't know, like, it's hard to bet against those New England teams in a one-off, even though, they didn't end up winning the final. But I'm still going to go with LAFC. With that said, I just think that's the best team I've seen. I always think that, like, sometimes it's just easy to say, oh, LAFC is so much better. But when you actually start to like play it out in your mind a little bit, it becomes harder to say, well, this team would just kind of walk. I don't think LAFC would just kind of like dance about and toka and pass their way through this New England team and just walk away.
Heaps going through Diego Rossi's legs when he just gets annoyed. That would be amazing. But I think your argument is similar to what I was thinking with the 2007 Dynamo. It was like, one, these are veteran-based teams that were never going to beat themselves. And when you talk about one-off games and all that stuff, you're talking about great goalkeepers, strong back lines, central midfield players that cover a ton of ground and knew their jobs. And then flair players who could win. If you drop D-Row and obviously Dempsey into the league today, they could still win games by themselves when they need to. So I don't think any of these matchups is like a walk that way. But I think you're talking about teams here that are like, obviously the Revs didn't win that final a lot, but like they're winners. That's what they did. And they have talent and they had depth. So it's not simple, but when we lay this out and say like, these are the criteria we're using, you can't pick them over LAFC. But if you put them on the field together tomorrow, it wouldn't shock me if the Revs beat them. And I think that's the Kalen's point, that they could do the things necessary, but I don't think we get to that in terms of this matchup when you go down your criteria. I think that's third or fourth, and LAFC's already won the matchup by the time you get there.
I think it has to be third or fourth, because if we're talking about head-to-head, we're just guessing. You know what I mean? We're just like, oh, I don't know. Could Shaw reboss Mark Anthony Kaye? Like, for sure he could.
Are we guessing, or is Wells Thompson behind this shade, behind the curtain right now? And we are going to play this game.
I think, Goss, the part you brought up, though, I think that New England team would struggle with some of the pace and dynamic play on the wings for sure. Like the LAFC team, when you see Diego Rossi is not a player that I was accustomed to seeing in MLS, and some of the like just the how dynamic some of these teams are, and I think the system Bob has set up is to kind of really let those guys fly. So yeah, I think that's where they would cause some problem.
The way Jordan Morris played in that Western Conference final, whatever it was at this point, 17 years ago. You look at Dempsey and Ralston to fill that space, and they're not the same type of player with the same type of speed. But like LAFC throws those fullbacks forward, you get the ball into Taylor's feet, 1v1 with a center back on his back to release one of those guys. You know, those are moments where this team could create. But once again,
there are, but they just didn't. I don't think they had the wing speed, like, as you just said. And the other thing is, like, with that Revs team, like, you have to factor in coaching too. And like Michael Parkhurst was their coach. If Bob Bradley is going up against that Revs team, he's gonna take Michael Parkhurst away. He's not going to let Michael Parkhurst distribute, and that would have changed everything about how the Revs could have played. So I think it would have been an entertaining game. I think it would have ended up like 5-3. But like I said, I think there's only one winner here. It's LAFC.
LAFC go through. I don't think we need to collect votes here. So number 1 seed is on in the Discovery Rights region. They will face either the 3 or the 2 seed. That is 2008, Columbus Crew, of course, MLS Cup winners, Guillermo Barros-Schelotto, and 98 DC United, another legendary squad. I'm pretty sure the Crew fans rocked this vote because the 3 seed, 2008 Columbus Crew. Why do we have an SC in here? I have to eliminate that from my. Oh God, get rid of it. No more SC. 56% to 44 for 98 DC United. Matt, I know that 98 DC United, the DC, that Marco Echeverri, that this sort of legendary team is one that you hold maybe not dear because of those early Metro days, but certainly from a quality standpoint, that holds true. Mm-hmm. This fan vote, do you agree with it? Who goes through here?
Like that Columbus team was really, really good. And we've talked about him a bunch. Schelotto had like an MVP season in 2008, and he had in MLS Cup itself, he had the single best performance maybe we've ever seen from a field player in MLS Cup. Peak Chad Marshall, really good central midfield with Brad Evans and Brian Carroll, good speed on and a little bit of flair on the wings with Robbie Rogers and Eddie Gavin, and then Frankie overlapping. It was a good team for that era. I think it was the best team of that era. I don't think it compares to that 98 DC United team. That 98 DC United team had prime Jaime Moreno and Roy Lassiter up top. Those two guys combined for like 35 goals and 20 assists. Peak Marco Echeverri, MVP Marco Echeverri running the show as a 10. John Harkes and Ben Olsen as a rookie. Tony Sane was the right back. Prime Eddie Pope and Carlos Llamosa were the center backs. Jeff Agus was the left back. Like Richie Williams, one of the unsung, underrated that Crew team was really, really good. That DC United team was arguably still the best team in MLS history. And you could argue about like they didn't win the Shield or MLS Cup that year, and fair enough. But they were in a World Cup season, so they lost a lot of guys for a good amount of time. And then they went on to win the CONCACAF Champions Cup, which is the forerunner to the Champions League. And then they beat Vasco da Gama in the Copa Interamericana, which is the Champions Cup winner versus the Copa Libertadores winner. They beat the Copa Libertadores winner. I think if you ask hardcore, old-time DC fans what the best DC team was from that era, they would say it was actually the 98 team. And I think if that's the case, then they are the winner here in this, and they're misseeded as well. I know we've chosen the '97 DC team as the best DC team, but it's actually the '98 team that I
Joel,
think.
you only get one seeding rant per show, so you've already used that.
All right.
So you've already spent it. Well, I was going to say, to Doyle's point, I like this Columbus team a lot. I like the way they're built, the way they fit as a unit. But all their trump cards, DC is equal or better, right? You talk about Schelotto, well, you're going to take Marco Echeverri.
Yeah.
Even, and it's a toss-up, if you could get healthy, prime Eddie Pope, you're taking that over Chad Marshall probably.
Yep.
You still have Carlos Hermosa. And then that Columbus team didn't have a great striker. They had guys who did their job. You look at Jaime Moreno and Lassiter, like that's ridiculous on top of all of the quality around them. So this DC team, I think, I agree with Doyle. I think they take it. I like this Columbus team. I think we talked about it in the last matchup, what they were able to do. They're definitely the best group of that 3-year period, and it shows from the trophies and the quality. But this is a DC group that has a class level above what Columbus has.
How do we sort of deal with the fact that, as you said, Doyle, yeah, DC won some trophies, but they weren't sort of in the MLS arena, whereas the Crew they won the double. They got the Shield and the Cup that year. They had the MVP. They had
you deal with this way, Weeby. If a team won CCL, you would have put them down as the winner of this bracket before we even set the bracket and walked away, right?
I mean, we've kind of already done that with TFC. They almost did it, and that still was almost enough.
And RSL. And now you add on that, they actually won finals in multiple international competitions and against teams outside of CONCACAF. I think that alone has to put them in a place where, okay, yeah, they didn't win Supporter Shield, but we gave RSL, 2010 RSL, a nod for, well, they had to compete in CCL while they lost the Supporter Shield to Galaxy, who weren't even in it. So now throw in that you're playing top teams in Brazil and you're winning CONCACAF Cup. Like that has to equal out.
I agree. I just think this is a prime example of how difficult it gets to judge these teams head to head, because there are all these different buckets that you're pulling from. Like if you value winning and you say that actually getting to finals and winning them is the most important, and you say, well, this is the best MLS team of all time, not the best continental team of all time, then it gets difficult. Are you saying it's head to head? We just did head to head. We think DC probably, like man for man, is better. But these teams can't play. We can't put them on the field to do it. So it gets tough. I mean, I'm leaning toward 98. Kalen, when you look at these teams, you played against that 08 Crew team. Where do you lean?
Kalen seems torn all day.
Yeah.
It's really hard to play this imaginary game, guys. I've been doing this for months. I don't know. Goss's
that's
point
the realest
about
thing said on this show, this entire show.
Right. Goss's point on going man for man, because I started going even further, and I was like, Frankie Hayduck, I think, was fantastic, but then maybe Tony Sane, I think, in his prime was, one of the best we've had. So as you go through kind of man for man, which helps to do, whereas I think if I did that with LAFC, and it's hard because if I did that with LAFC in New England, I almost think New England might have a better case, because LAFC is, I think, more of the sum of its parts in a lot of ways. They have fantastic players, but not all of those names like jump off the page as far as guys who played in World Cups or the way like Clint and some of these guys have. Anyways, I think I'm going back with 98 DC United for this one. If only just to say I'm not biased to the era that I played in. and like, I think when we've had a bunch of teams that have said, like, I think I've been queued with a bunch of questions on other streams I've done, like, all right, dynasty, is this a dynasty? Is this a dynasty? And usually it's like, if you have to ask, it's not.
Not a dynasty.
And like the DC teams, for me, it's like the one clear MLS take where I'm like, all right, that's a dynasty, right? So I think that's a clear one where it's like, if they're up against somebody, more than not, I'm probably going to vote for those early teams.
You think that's the one that's a clear one, Kalen?
To me, yeah.
You don't think a team that won MLS Cup in 2011, 12, and 14 is a clear one as well? We don't have to go there right now. I wasn't trying to make your life harder. I'm sorry.
We can go there.
If Kalen could punch us in the face through a stream, I think he might do it right now. After a trivia last night, that was me writing those questions, by the way. Jalen, I think he might do it. 98 DC United is on. I think we can all agree. The fan vote gets reversed here, so the final in that discovery rights region is going to be 2019 LAFC against 98 DC United. So two teams on either side of sort of MLS's beginning and end.
The best game in MLS history. That would be the best game in MLS. Is there a way we can play this on a like a FIFA game or something like that? Can one of you gamers play this out?
I don't know, dude. I think Richie Williams still in shape, so they might just roll out and do it. Echeverry definitely has the. I didn't know what word I was gonna use. Let's just say gall to step on a field probably and try and do it against LAFC right now.
And anyway, let's move on to the next one because I don't want.
All right, let's go down to the CCL region. The one seed is 97 DC United. They lost the vote as well to 2011 LA Galaxy, 53% to 47%. This is the 5 seed, the 2011 LA Galaxy. They did not lose a game at home, as we established on Extra Time Trivia yesterday. This was the first of their
alongside the 2012 Houston Dynamo.
Just make sure we get that in. Good point. So yeah, this is another
both ways, guys.
This is maybe a seeding one. Like 97 DC is the 1 seed. It'd be interesting if we went 97, 98 DC in the final to decide who plays for the championship. That would be a difficult one. But the fans have given us 1 vote for Galaxy. Is there a second vote for the Galaxy out there? I mean, you're talking about a team with Landon, with Omar, with Beckham.
Robbie Keane came at the end.
Robbie Keane at the very end. So I think you have to give them Robbie Keane, even though he wasn't there for the entire season.
But Kai and Dom couldn't play together in KC.
You got a good memory.
I'm willing to go for the Galaxy.
Wait, sorry. Let me get my popcorn. Kalen, why do you think the 2011 LA Galaxy are better than Prime DC United?
They won. They're winners.
So did 1997 DC United. They won the double.
Yeah, that's true.
And unlike the Galaxy, they didn't punt the Open Cup. The Galaxy lost to the Carolina Dynamo, I believe, in the Open Cup that year, whereas DC United went to the Open Cup final, played it 4 days after winning MLS Cup, and only lost it in a penalty shootout.
Carolina Railhawks, I believe, would be
Carolina
the correct answer. And there's been many great MLS teams that have gotten Railhawk before, so myself included. So let's just put some respect on the Railhawks name. It's a thing. You got Railhawked. That's how ubiquitous it is. And not every club has valued. I think it's pretty obvious. Not every club has valued the Open Cup to the same measure as others. I think it's growing, but there have been definitely major clubs that have just been like, nah, not interested right now. We've got other goals.
But give us the pitch. Give us the pitch for 2011.
Bruce Arena valued it in 1997, but he didn't in 2011, I guess. But anyway, go ahead, Kalen.
Yeah. I just voted for them. That's it. There's no answer to it.
I think this is one of the weird ones.
I think they would beat them. I think they would win.
If you get to the man-to-man conversation, this Galaxy team looks better than the team that they were in 2011. They came together as a unit, I think, better after 2011 and played better soccer, hence us having 2014 at a higher level. But when you say David Beckham's name and you say Robbie Keane's name and Omar Gonzalez and all that, it looks fantastic. But I don't think the soccer they played in 2011 was at its peak as a unit, and DC was in 97. And so then now you come down to, well, they both have great players, but DC competing across all these competitions at a higher level probably wins it out over LA for me. So yeah,
I will say
that
that
Galaxy team was a 1-0 team. Yeah. I mean, it was, they grinded out games.
So they were a 1-0 team. But if you look at the way they played in the playoffs, they were an utterly dominant team in like that. No offense, Kalen, but that MLS Cup was so one-sided. It should have been like 4-0. If they weren't starting Adam Chrisman at center forward, it would have been 4-0. But that's the thing. No matter how
there's no effing chance that would be 4-0. There's no way that Houston team we're going to lose 4-0.
All right.
We lost 1-0.
3-0.
They had the better of the play. I'll give you that. Adam Christman missed a couple chances that he should have scored.
Yeah.
But we can play the imaginary game, but I played in the match. And we wouldn't. That team is not losing 4-0.
Okay.
Yes, I love that.
They were losing 3-0. But that's the thing. Like, as good as the Galaxy played, this is a team that we're talking about in the greatest bracket of all time, starting Adam Christman in their biggest game of the year, as opposed to DC United starting prime Jaime Moreno, prime Raul Diaz-Arce, and prime Marco Echeverri underneath them. And bear in mind that this, like, Moreno and Echeverri were not just creatures of MLS. That summer they played in the Copa America with Bolivia. They led Bolivia to the final. Like, Bolivia only lost in the final to Brazil, the Ronaldo, Rivaldo era, Dunga, like the end of the Dunga era, like truly great Brazil team that had just won the previous World Cup and was about to finish runner-up in the next World Cup. Bolivia's never gotten that far. Echeverri was out there in the Copa America showing that he was one of the 3 best players in South America, at least for that tournament. At least
if
for
Brazil
that.
would have finished their chances, they would have won 12-0.
Probably.
If Adam Christman had started for Bolivia, though, they may have won the whole thing.
Yeah. So I just think that if you look at what that team was capable of and what they actually did, in spite of losing a bunch of their players to international competition throughout the year, and then not just doing the Shield MLS Cup double, but coming as close as any American team ever has to doing the domestic treble. That LA Galaxy team was great. That DC United team was better.
And they hammer home the point on the Galaxy team of quality and names. You had Greg Berhalter and Frankie Haydock on the bench of that team. It was the last year of their careers. They weren't the players that they were. So if you roll out that roster for the Galaxy, I think it looks better than what the 2011 LA Galaxy truly were.
I'm going to take 97 DC. I don't think that we'll end up. I mean, it'll be a battle because 2018 Atlanta United is in our next matchup here, and that's who I think will likely be.
Ooh, so you eliminated the Chicago Fire.
I haven't. Did we have 2 other DC votes? Dave and Doyle? I mean, Doyle had it, so we're 2-2. Yep. Dave, are you the tiebreaker?
Yeah, I'm going to vote DC.
Okay, DC goes through.
Mainly because the Galaxy stole the 2011 MLS Cup from the deserving team, and I'm still not over that. So, in solidarity with Kalen, I'm going to vote against Kalen.
They might have stole 2012. I don't know about 2011.
3 seed.
Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, 3 seed 2000 Chicago Fire. They got 32% of the fan vote. 2018 Atlanta United, no surprise here, 68%. They got the 1 to start from the fans out there. This is an interesting one. I mean, we know that 2018 Atlanta United is one of the best MLS teams of all time. They won the Cup. They were just behind that Red Bulls team that set a points record that year that LAFC then broke the next year. This was a very, very good team. Almiron, Joseph, up and down this roster, they were, they were arguably the best team in MLS history.
Man, we should have had Carlos Bocanegra on today, by the way. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Sorry. Not to cut you off, but he played on one team and created the other.
I mean, so you have DeMarcus Beasley in 2000, you have Bocanegra, you have Armas, Stoichkov, I believe, is on that team.
Yeah. Josh.
I mean, it's an incredible team. 32% of the vote.
Jesse Mars, CJ Brown,
Peter Novak,
Ante Razov. It's a squad.
Risto came with about 2 or 3 months left in the season. He played, I want to say, about 1,000 minutes. He had 9 goals and 7 assists in 1,000 minutes. He was not the player he had been in 94 and 95 when he was, top 2 or 3 player in the world. But he wasn't washed. And it remained like that performance by Tony Meola in MLS Cup remains the best performance that we've ever seen in MLS Cup because the Fire were just crushing them. And I am still so completely shocked that the Fire didn't win that game. Now, they did win the U.S. Open Cup, but they were runners up to Kansas City, who, again, we biffed it by not putting them in this bracket That's a bad job by Anders.
I think Weeby gets blame on that one too, because Weeby shot it down multiple times.
Yeah, Weeby hates Kansas City.
Yeah, Weeby said you couldn't respect that Wiz team. They're not that good.
Yeah, I that to me that is still the biggest upset in MLS Cup history. The fact that this Fire team, with the way they were playing down the stretch, didn't get themselves a title. And I imagine that's what this conversation is going to come down to, because Atlanta United, when it did matter, they did get themselves the MLS Cup.
Although they biffed it in Supporters Shield.
For sure.
Like it wasn't that they got beat out by a great Red Bull team. All they had to do was win to finish it off, and they biffed it across the last month of the season and choked, which Doyle's not supporter culture, but like I am. And that I think has to play into what happened to Atlanta. And I think because I think you have to go a few steps down on this one, when you get into the man-to-man conversation, like this Chicago team can play with this Atlanta team in terms of profile and career and stuff. Even if you're talking about Ristoya as the sixth best player on the Chicago team. And then look over.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
And then you look over and who are you comparing him to? Eric Remedi? Like those are fair comps. I think one of the conversations that's going to come down with, I think the last thing that you guys that we have here is the development of Major League Soccer and just what the game was in 2018 and 19. Because I think we're going to talk about this with LAFC DC coming forward versus what it was in 1998 and the athleticism of Atlanta United and what they were able to do. And it's just like, I think we talked about it with Red Bull Chicago
team. Beasley, Bocanegra, some pretty good athletes.
Yeah.
I think Bocanegra won Defender of the Year that year, and I think
Rookie of the Year.
Rozov won the Golden Boot. So they had a real blend. That Chicago team had a real blend of youth and experience for sure. Some super talented young Americans coming up, as well as some international guys that were like Lubos Kubik was a fantastic player. All these guys that had come over and had tons of experience as well, winning titles. So that team was legit. But it's hard to go against this Atlanta United team because, when you look at if I had to pick Joseph Martinez or Ante Razov in a match, I'm gonna take Joseph Martinez. As great as Ante was,
Almiron and Novak.
Almiron, I think. I know Peter Novak was fantastic, but Almiron to me he's like one of the best players I've seen in MLS. So Peter as well, but I think Almiron was just totally different types of players in a way too. Just like So I would lean as good as this Chicago team was. I think for maybe the very, very top end talent, and this is generally why I have gone for Atlanta United in the past, is just in that moment where you have to pick. That's not just about the teams, but who are the top end players. I think Atlanta United take the edge there.
Yeah, I think the argument there, I think they have the top class that Chicago doesn't have. I think 3 through 11 you could debate, and maybe even 3 through 14 you could debate a lot of those. I mean, to bring Josh Wolf and DeMarcus Beasley off the bench in an MLS Cup, young guys, right? Not DeMarcus at 42, is pretty impressive. But again, you mentioned Almiron at 22 and Joseph at 25 being the all-time leading goal scorer in MLS history at the time. And the whole team by MLS Cup, Doyle, that fit around them, that Tata had figured out how to keep his team safe and get the best out of those guys.
Yeah, there was only one way to beat that Atlanta team, and that's to smash them with the press. The Red Bulls were able to do that until they stopped trying to. But this Chicago team, as great as they weren't going to do that. They're not going to press you. So I think that 2019 Atlanta or 2018 Atlanta finds a way.
Have we talked about where these games are being played? Are these on neutral sites? Is there a home away? Like, how does this work? Because you got the Bens, then you got, I think, Soldier at this time. Have we considered who is I guess if you're the higher seed, I guess you're probably hosting, right?
Right.
Wow. Didn't think about that.
Chicago on the road there. I don't know what their away record was during that season. But
we have to redo this whole thing now. Properly take into account.
So is anyone voting for Chicago?
No.
I don't think so.
I think it's one of the toughest ones.
This is what makes it hard. Is like your vote goes for the team that you like, but I also feel like when I make these decisions that I'm taking something away from the team that doesn't get my vote. Where it's like I respect 2000 Chicago Fire and Bob and all these guys so much and what they accomplished. So I feel like I'm short shrifting them when I don't vote for them. And I also wondered, am I just being biased toward my own experiences? Am I looking at this Atlanta United team that occupies this huge place in my mind, both now and in the past, and overvaluing them versus a team that I don't really have personal experiences with? That's what makes this so hard. But I think if you're looking at all time and you're saying, okay, which of these teams do I think if they won the bracket would make the most sense?
And I don't think a team that didn't win MLS Cup can win this bracket.
Yeah, it doesn't. That feels weird to me. Doyle's like, I'm going to put DC United 98 in there, so don't even worry about that.
And I think we also have to mention, and I think Chicago has some of this in 2000 with the team they put together. And we've talked about this a little bit of like what the team, that group meant for the league, the future of the league, all those things. Like this Atlanta United team, and we have LAFC now, and we don't know what Miami's going to be in all glitz, glamour, and size, but this Atlanta group like put together a different type of model, pushed the league a little bit further, and winning in 2018 was a huge part of confirming that what they did was correct, that they would continue to operate that way and probably seal Tata Martino's legacy in Major League Soccer. And they did all those things as a group. It's not just that this was the era they existed in and they were the best at what happened. TFC pushed the envelope, KC, RSL 2010, KC 2013, the Galaxy coming back, TFC, and then I think Atlanta pushed the league that little bit further, and you have to give some credence to that.
It's interesting though too, because this Chicago team is just 3 years into their existence as well. So it's like a similar lifespan to where Atlanta was, just in a different era with different rules, different spending, and sort of different expectations. Sounds
but
like
DC would say Chicago didn't reinvent the wheel in 2000 or in 99.
Yeah, that's fair.
They just kind of were good with the same model.
Atlanta goes on. The fan vote was there. Sounds like we're there. So the matchups going forward on the Discovery Rights region and CCL as you get into these final 8 teams. 2019 LAFC against 98 DC United. 97 DC United against 2018 Atlanta. So we have 2 DC United legendary teams on that side of the bracket. I'm doubting they'll both get through, but we'll see as we push the greatest team of all time ahead. Look out on our Twitter at Extra Time. Get your votes in. Let's get out of here with some mail here. Dave, what do we got? And if we don't, I got a bunch of best 11s.
Oh, you want to throw a best? Well, we were going to do a Central America one, but Anders told me that was Weeby's thing, so we had to wait for you after Monday. So do we want to dig into a Central American best 11 here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because we've been teasing it for a while.
I have in my CONCACAF best 11, which is a mix of
that's incorrect.
Caribbean.
This is a Central American best 11.
But I'm pulling out the guys that I had from Central America in that 11, and you can confirm whether you want to keep them in yours now. I have Carlos Ruiz up top. I have Mauricio Cienfuegos in the midfield. I have Andy Nahar at right back, and that's actually it. So those are the only guys in there. I think Roger Espinoza probably has to be in this team in the midfield.
Yep.
Any other names jump out to you? Victor Bernardez, probably going to be a big call there. Maybe.
Victor Bernardez, Kendall Waston. Kendall Waston was 2 or 3 times best 11.
I think 2. Yeah, I think twice.
2. I think
Muma was once.
Okay. The D-mid, we struggled with this one because there haven't been a lot of D-mids from Central America, but I think the right call is probably Zarco Rodriguez. Played for the Burn back, I want to say like 97 to 2003. It was him and Oscar Pareja sort of playing next to each other in a double pivot, but Zarco played a little bit deeper. Really good El Salvadoran player from that time, so him and Cienfuegos would pair up pretty well.
Does Elise get on this at right mid or whatever your formation is, right forward?
I don't think so, because I think you want to go with 2 forwards, right? You want to go probably with Pescadito and Diaz Arce. No?
Yeah. I would go Diaz Arce. I would go if I had to choose between getting Elise into the team or Diaz Arce into the team. It's not even a question. I'm going Diaz Arce.
Okay, so then you either need wing backs or center.
Well, I think Nahar can play wing back on the right side.
Okay.
Right? He's a perfect fit for that sort of like marauding role, cover ground, up and down.
Does Boniak get a shout at any position because he plays 19?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I would actually put him as a fourth central midfielder, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're the fourth midfielder. Then you play a diamond with Cienfuegos at the top, Roger and Boniek as the shuttlers, and Zarkov sitting deep.
You don't get Amado Guevara in there.
This was a convo that we had the other day, Weeby. I was heartbroken.
Yeah. You're taking him out. I'm just confirming. I'm just trying to cover all my bases to make sure that we don't make a mistake that we.
He's definitely on the bench, but he wasn't as good as or as influential or didn't win as much as Cienfuegos.
Yeah, and he can't fit in the team with him is the problem. He can't really fit in the team with a lot of people.
So how about this? Left back, Gonzalo Cigares.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think that's the right move.
Yep, absolutely.
The other one we mentioned when we were thinking about this was Minor Figueroa and Hendry Thomas, who both played a ton of positions, probably had their peaks outside of Major League Soccer, but are both Central American guys that played in MLS. Minor could be fullback or center back, and Thomas could be fullback or D-mid.
Yeah, I think so. Producer Anders is saying legendary Leo Gonzalez, very good player for a good long while for a Sounders team that won a lot. He's your backup left back. I like this team. This team's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. I'm going to throw one other team out there before we get out of here.
Did we say Jaime Pinedo in goal?
You are such a big Jaime Pinedo guy.
Who else are you putting?
Yeah, who else is there?
Yeah, that's fair. I don't think there is anybody else. Is there?
No.
No, unless somebody signs Keylor Navas. So
Jaime is getting his due there. Okay, do you want, before we get out of here, do you want my Conma Bowl? Do you want my Africa? Do you want my Asia Oceania best 11?
Can I prep that we're going to do a Caribbean one again because someone asked for that?
Ooh,
so we'll
yeah,
do that
I'm
in the
down for that
future.
I'd like to hear either Africa or like Asia.
I like this Africa team.
Okay, so Africa was tough. You have to cut. I mean, you're cutting like Fernando Adi, you're cutting Big Mama, Mamadou Diallo, you're cutting Didier Drogba. But I think your two forwards have to be Kai Kamara and Obafemi Martins. Kai, for me, is like the first name into this, just based on sort of the long and short of his career in MLS. And then you have Oba for his peak, which I think, even though Drogba's first year was just stupid, I think was longer and for better teams. So that his part in like 2014 Seattle puts him onto this. I have a 4-4-2 going here at right wing. I got Patrick Nyarko. Left, I have Steve Zakuani. And then I have Latif Blessing and Ivan McKinley in the midfield. Now, it was Latif. Latif was a tough one just because like the length of time, but I think his inclusion on like 2019 LAFC, one of the best teams of all time, pushed it over the edge for me. And also he was a big part of Kansas City in his own way. It wasn't the same way as LAFC.
What are the restrictions on this?
None really.
Like, so is Darlington Nagbe eligible?
No.
Okay.
No. Because no, he would be in
Liberia,
the team.
So that's why.
Yeah, he would be in the team. He would be in the team.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Alphonso Davies is not the left back.
Right. Alphonso Davies is in the CONCACAF one as a Canadian.
Our left back, yeah.
I have Ambrose Oyongo as my left back.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ambrose Oyongo, who was a really
great
good player
in Major League Soccer and one of the better exports in MLS that just never gets mentioned.
Harrison Offal is my right back. I think that was a really, really easy decision. And center back was actually more difficult than I thought it was going to be. In the end, I went Bakary Soumare and I went Chris Mavinga because I think Bakary, his peak and longevity in MLS versus some of the other competitors there, like Traore in Seattle or Jonathan Mensah in Columbus, I think he just had a longer time. And then Chris Mavinga was a big part of that best team in MLS history, arguably. So I pushed him in there as well. And then the goalkeeper, it's got to be Bouna time. Bouna Kandul.
He has one of the top goals against average in MLS history for goalkeeper. Obviously, like in 80 places. Can I tell my Bouna Kandul story real quick?
Of course. And then we'll get out of here.
MLK high school legend in New York City, along with Bakary Soumare. They both started in the same high school soccer team and then were on the same African Nations Cup roster, which is ridiculous. And I went up to him one time at an event. I was like, hey, man, I scored against you at MLK high school. He looks at me and he goes, no, you didn't. 3 guys scored against me in 2 years. I know what all of them look like. You're not one of them. And I was like, whoa, that is greatness. That's that level.
So
yeah.
love Bouna time.
Also throw out there, I think we missed it, Giancarlo Gonzalez for a peak that 1 year for Central
like
American.
a half year.
half year.
Yeah, but a World Cup quarterfinal as an MLS player, and was
Yeah.
one of the best center backs in the league.
That's fair.
Doyle just rolled his eyes. He loved the international game.
I did. I rolled my eyes right out of my head right there.
All right.
Boona!
Enjoy your weekend, everybody.
If you're
We'll be
looking for
back.
cooking tips, go to Baki's Instagram. This guy is
Really?
cooking up some steaks. Yeah.
Nice.
He's got the scallops. He's got it all going. Every time I go on, I'm just like, one, I'm poor, and two, I'm hungry. He's eating good.
Quarantine 2020, folks.
So Kalen's basically too fast.
I
too
tried to get on a
furious right now.
MLS Idol, by the way, and I submitted me making a frozen burrito, and I didn't get in the clip. I can't even believe this thing.
Did you wrap it in? Did you lightly wrap it in paper towel to let it like?
You could have
steam?
seen the whole thing. You could have seen my whole process.
Are
Put
you
it on.
gonna wait,
Put it on.
yeah.
We'll put it on extra time Twitter.
This show, you got to have like a $20,000 espresso machine to get in the show. It's fancy golf clubs or something. It's
Hey, are you and Suze having
Travesty.
a falling out here? Is that what this is? Button heads now?
well, Charlie too. Don't leave Charlie out of this.
Yeah.
I've taken my grievances to Twitter. I'm gonna release the tapes.
I just want you to know that I got cut too, Kalen. Both Cameron and I. So they disrespected
They
my
cut a
child
kid.
in the process. They killed his dreams. They killed his
little
dreams. I told him, "You're part of this. You're part of MLS Idol,
He's
Cameron."
tuning
And
in
he
on
said,
Thursday at 7:30 live, just getting ready to see himself on the
"Sitting
big screen.
down." Exactly.
One day in 10, 15 years, Cameron's gonna go on the internet and be like, "I am so glad this video does not exist in the world. This was one of the best things that ever happened."
Thank you, Charlie Davies, for not
Yeah.
accepting my proposal of me singing in the background. Yeah.
7:30 p.m. Eastern tonight. If you're listening to this right when it comes out, MLS Idol, you can go vote for the best talent this week. Some MLSsoccer.com talent in that one, but not Kaylin and I, which is criminal, and not Doyle either. I think you put in your cocktail of the week, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
Doyle.
I did. I literally lit a cocktail on fire. Showed y'all how to do that safely and not burn your apartment down, but that got cut as well. Oh well.
Yeah,
Well-
at least you got to drink the cocktail. We'll see you on Monday, everybody. Have a great weekend, or maybe Tuesday, actually, because it's a holiday. TBD. We'll put it out on Twitter. We'll see you then. Adios.